I was about to say I do to a woman who'd been planning to leave me for 6 months. I just didn't know I'd be the one ending it. Her ex was sitting in row 3, navy suit, smiling like he won something. I had her phone in my jacket pocket, the one she lost 3 weeks ago. I found it that morning, wedged in her car. Cracked screen, 12% battery, same passcode as the new one. I read everything. Then I walked down that aisle and married her anyway. For about 4 minutes. My name's Daniel. I'm 31. I write code for a fintech company in Charlotte. The kind of job where you wear a hoodie to meetings and people pretend it's edgy. Boring life. I liked it that way. I met Rachel 4 years ago at a housewarming. My buddy Kyle had just bought this weird little bungalow in Plaza Midwood, and his girlfriend dragged half the neighborhood over for sangria and burnt brisket. Rachel was standing by the fence talking to someone's dog. Not the owner. The dog. I remember thinking that was either really charming or a red flag, and I went with charming. She was 25 then. Marketing manager at some healthcare company. Smart, funny in a dry way, the kind of person who actually listened when you talked instead of waiting for her turn. We started dating 6 weeks later. Moved in together after a year and a half. I proposed in Asheville on her birthday. Rented a cabin. Hiked up to this overlook on Craggy Pinnacle. She cried. I cried. The ring cost me 4 months of savings, and I didn't care. The engagement was 14 months. Rachel wanted a real wedding, which I learned meant $52,000 and a guest list that grew every time her aunt called. She mentioned Marcus exactly twice in 4 years. Once early on, said they'd dated in college, that he was controlling, and she'd had to block him to move on. Second time, maybe 2 years in, I asked if she'd ever run into him. She said no, and changed the subject. I didn't push. Why would I? I had no reason to. I never met him. Never saw a photo. Didn't even know his last name until the morning of my wedding, when I read 847 messages between him and the woman I was about to marry. 3 weeks before the wedding, she lost her phone. Or said she did. Looking back, I can map it now. The small things. The way they stack up only after. She started taking calls in the garage. I'd come downstairs and the door would be closed and she'd say it was her mom, her sister, the florist, the venue. Always someone. Always quiet. I made a joke once about her becoming a CIA agent, and she didn't laugh. She just said, yeah, and went upstairs. She got a second email account for wedding stuff. Said it was easier to keep track. I'm an engineer. I know that's not how email works. You can just use folders. But I let it go. Her maid of honor, Jess, they'd been best friends since high school, stopped looking me in the eye around February. We'd be at the same table at dinner, and she'd find a way to be looking at her phone whenever I spoke. I thought she was just stressed. Her mom was sick at the time. I gave her every benefit of every doubt. Then the phone. Rachel came home one Tuesday and said she'd left it at a Starbucks, and by the time she went back it was gone. Bought a new one that night. Wiped the old one remotely just in case. I offered to help her track it with Find My iPhone, and she said it was already gone, already wiped, no point. She was so calm. That should have been the thing. She loved that phone. She'd had it 3 years. And she was calm. Then the bachelorette party. Nashville, second weekend in May. 5 girls, a rented Airbnb, the whole thing. She came back distant. Not cold, just somewhere else. I asked her if everything was okay, and she said she was just stressed about the wedding. Cried a little. I held her. Told her we could elope if she wanted. She laughed and said no. No, she was fine. Just nerves. The morning of the wedding, I went out to her car to grab her veil. The bag was in the trunk, and as I was closing the trunk, I dropped my keys, and they slid under the passenger side. That's when I saw it. Wedged between the passenger seat and the center console. The phone. The one that had been gone for 3 weeks. I picked it up. It was cracked, but it turned on. 12% battery. Same passcode. June 14th, her birthday. Rachel had used that passcode since the day I met her. She never changed passwords. Not for Netflix, not for Amazon, not for anything. It used to drive me crazy from a security standpoint. The first thing I opened was messages. I'm not going to walk you through all 847 of them. I'll tell you what I needed to see. Marcus's name was at the top. Last message from him. 6:42 a.m. that morning. See you soon. 3 heart emojis. I scrolled. 5 months of texts. They'd reconnected in December. He'd messaged her on Instagram. She'd answered. By January, it was every day. By March, it was sexual. By April, she was telling him she loved him. April 22nd, to be specific. I remember the date because that was the night we'd had dinner with my parents, and she'd told my mom she couldn't wait to be a Mitchell. I was sitting at that table thinking how lucky I was. She sent him photos. I'm not going to describe them. You can imagine. There was a voice memo, 14 seconds long. I tapped it before I knew what I was doing, and her voice came through the speaker, low and rushed. I love you. I love you. I just need to get through this wedding, okay? Then I'm yours. I promise. And then there was the note. In her notes app, titled After. She'd written it in pieces over the past 2 months. I could tell from the timestamps. It was a list. Apartments in Raleigh, ranked by price. The phone number for a divorce attorney named Patricia Hewlett. A moving company estimate dated June 14th, 8 days after the wedding. She was going to marry me, take the gifts, take the honeymoon to Costa Rica that my parents had paid for, and then leave me. I sat in that car for 40 minutes. I had 2 choices. Cancel the wedding. 180 people, my grandparents flew in from Michigan, my dad in his rented tux already pacing in the hotel lobby. Look insane. Spend the next year explaining myself to people who'd whisper that I just couldn't handle commitment. Or go through with it. And figure something out. I picked option 2. I want to be clear about something. I was not calm. I was shaking so hard I couldn't get the car door open at first. I threw up in the bushes behind the venue. There's a part of me that still doesn't know how I got from that car to the groom's suite without anyone seeing my face and knowing. But once I sat down, something shifted. I stopped feeling. I went somewhere else. I've talked to my therapist about this, and she called it dissociation. Whatever it was, I'm grateful for it. I don't think I could have done what I did otherwise. I texted my best man, Eric. Just one line. I need you to trust me. No questions. I'll explain after. Then I forwarded 4 screenshots to Eric, my brother, and my mom. The voice memo, the after note, the text from that morning. I sent them in 3 separate threads so they couldn't compare reactions in real time. Eric called me 30 seconds later. I let it ring. Then I texted, make sure Marcus stays. He's listed as Rachel's college friend, +1. Navy suit. Don't let him leave the ceremony. Eric just wrote back, on it. I airdropped the voice memo to the DJ, told him the bride had a surprise for the groom and to play track 1 on the file when I gave him a signal. He winked at me, said, you got it, man. He thought it was romantic. I got dressed, smiled for the photos. My hands shook so badly during the boutonniere that the photographer's assistant had to pin it for me. I said it was nerves. Everyone laughed. Rachel found me 10 minutes before the ceremony. She'd done her hair the way I liked it, half up. She kissed me on the cheek so she wouldn't smear her lipstick, and she said, I love you so much, Daniel. I can't wait to be your wife. I said it back. I don't remember what I said exactly. I think I said I love you too. I hope I did. I want her to have heard me say it one last time before she heard what came next. The ceremony started. She walked down the aisle. White dress, her father crying, the string quartet playing some Ed Sheeran song she'd picked. Marcus was in row 3. He didn't look at her. He looked at his shoes. She reached the altar, smiled at me. The officiant, a guy named Reverend Davis, family friend of her parents, started his speech. The one we'd written together. About partnership and patience and building a life. He got to the part where he says, if anyone here objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. He paused. He always paused there. It was rhetorical. I said I do. The whole room went still. Rachel's smile froze. Reverend Davis blinked at me like I'd spoken in Latin. I turned to the room. I pulled my phone out of my jacket. I clicked the microphone closer to my mouth, the lapel mic, the one for the live stream. I said, calmly, before we continue, I want to share something with everyone who came today. I think you deserve to know who you're celebrating. Rachel grabbed my arm, whispered, Daniel, what are you doing? I read 3 texts. The April 22nd one, where she told him she loved him. The one from 2 weeks before the wedding, where she said she wished I'd just call it off so she wouldn't have to fake it. And the one from that morning. See you soon. 3 hearts. I nodded at the DJ. The voice memo played through the venue speakers. Her voice, 14 seconds, echoing across 180 people in folding chairs and rented suits. I love you. I love you. I just need to get through this wedding, okay? Then I'm yours. I promise. I looked at row 3. Marcus, I assumed she meant you. He stood up, tried to walk to the side aisle. Eric was already there, arms crossed, blocking him. Not threatening, just blocking. Marcus sat back down. He was bright red. Rachel's mother stood up and screamed her name like she'd been stabbed. Her father just sat there, stared at the floor. I turned back to Rachel. She was crying. Not pretty crying. Real crying. The kind where your whole face collapses. I almost felt bad. Almost. I said, Rachel, I hope Raleigh works out. The apartment on Hillsborough Street looks nice. Patricia Hewlett's a good attorney. I checked her reviews. You picked well. I handed her the bouquet she'd given me to hold. I unpinned my boutonniere and set it on the altar. I walked down the aisle alone, past 180 people who didn't make a sound, and out the back door of the chapel. My brother was waiting in the parking lot with the car running. I didn't cry until I got home. Rachel called 31 times that night. The texts came in waves. First it was, please. Just that word, 20 times. Then it was explanations. It wasn't what it looked like. You don't understand. I was going to end it. I just got scared. Then it was anger. You humiliated me in front of my entire family. You're a monster. You could have just talked to me. I didn't respond to any of them. Her mother called my mother around 11 p.m. Started screaming about how I'd ruined Rachel's life. My mom, and I love my mom for this, said, very quietly, Linda, your daughter ruined her own life. My son just turned the lights on. Then she hung up. The venue refunded nothing. The caterer kept the deposit. The florist had already delivered. My parents had paid for most of it. They'd insisted, said it was their gift. About $40,000, all in. I paid them back over the next 13 months. I worked weekends. Sold my motorcycle. They told me to stop. I didn't. Marcus blocked Rachel within a week. Turns out he'd been seeing someone else the whole time too. Some woman in Greensboro. I only know this because Jess told me. Yeah, that Jess, the maid of honor. She showed up at my apartment 3 days after the wedding. Mascara everywhere. She said she'd known since March. She'd begged Rachel to call it off. She'd written me an email twice and deleted it. She apologized for an hour. I believed her. I forgave her, eventually. We're still in touch. Christmas cards, nothing more. The wedding video, there was one. The videographer was already paid. Never went viral. My friends kept it private. I've never watched it. I don't think I ever will. The thing nobody tells you about ending it like that, you don't feel victorious. You just feel tired. That was 2 years ago. I sold the house we were going to buy. The closing was scheduled for the Monday after the honeymoon. I called the agent from my brother's couch and pulled out. Lost the earnest money. Didn't care. I moved to Asheville, same town where I proposed. I know how that sounds. My therapist has thoughts about it. But I'd always loved it there, and I wasn't going to let Rachel take a whole city from me too. I switched companies. Same kind of work, full remote. I got a dog, a rescue beagle named Murphy. He's the worst behaved animal I've ever met, and I love him stupidly. He sleeps on my chest. He chews shoes. He's the best decision I've made since I was 27. I started therapy. Real therapy, twice a week for the first year. I learned that I'd ignored a lot of signs in that relationship because I wanted the story to be true. That's a hard thing to sit with. That you participated in your own deception. I haven't dated since. People ask me when I'll be ready. I don't know. I'm not unhappy. I think I'd rather be alone and certain than partnered and lied to. Maybe that changes. Maybe it doesn't. Rachel reached out 6 months ago. One email. She'd done a lot of work on herself. She wanted to talk. Wanted to apologize properly. Wanted me to know she'd grown. I didn't reply. I don't hate her. That surprises people. I really don't. I think she was a young woman who got scared and made a series of choices she couldn't undo, and the version of her that did those things might genuinely not exist anymore. I hope she's better. I hope she's happy. I just don't need to be the one she practices being better on. People online ask me sometimes if I regret it. The way I did it. The publicness of it. The cruelty, some of them call it. And here's the honest answer. I don't regret what I did, but I regret that I had to do it. There's a difference.